All right, let's just dive right in. You know that old saying, seeing is believing? Well, what happens when that's just not true anymore? Today, we're digging into the wild world of deepfakes, this AI-generated stuff that's totally shaking up our idea of reality.
I want you to think about something for a second. What if a video of you popped up online, saying something you never said, doing something you never did, and it went viral? And look, this isn't some far-off sci-fi plot. This is the reality of deepfake tech, and it's a threat that's getting more and more personal every day.
So, how are we going to tackle this? First up, we're going to break down what this whole deepfake phenomenon really is. Then, we'll zoom in on how it's hitting individuals, zoom back out to see the threat it poses to society as a whole, and finally, we'll get into the fight for what's real. Okay, let's get into it. Part 1, the deepfake phenomenon. What are we actually talking about here, and how widespread is this stuff becoming? The name deepfake kind of gives the game away, right? It's a mashup of deep learning, that's a type of artificial intelligence, and, well, fake. At its core, as defined by places like the University of Hawaii and in the EU's AI Act, it's media made by an AI that convincingly swaps out or changes someone's face or voice. And usually, the whole point is to trick you or to manipulate a situation.
And here's where it gets interesting. A whole lot of people know about deepfakes. A study of students over at the London School of Economics found that a huge chunk, 87%, were familiar with the term. But knowing the word is one thing. Truly getting the danger it represents, that's a whole different story.
And this is where it stops being an abstract tech problem and gets really, really personal. Let's talk about the human cost of a perfect fake. Okay, I want you to really let this number sink in. An analysis looked at over 14,000 pornographic deepfake videos, and it found that 100% of them targeted women. Just think about that. Not 99%, 100%, every single one. This is not some random tool, it's a weapon being aimed with a very specific, gendered target in mind.
So how do people react to this threat? Well, when those same students were asked how they'd feel if they were the target of an intimate deepfake, the response was just universal. It didn't matter what gender they were, the feeling was overwhelmingly negative, very bothered. This is a shared, gut-level fear.
And these fears are absolutely justified. We're not just talking about being a little embarrassed here. People are worried sick about what this could do to their mental health, their chances of getting a job, their entire reputation. A fake video can have devastatingly real consequences.
But it's not just about what you can see. The threat gets even scarier when you hear it. Voice cloning scams are just incredibly cruel. Dr. John H. Griffin from the University of Wisconsin puts it perfectly. He says, the emotional realism of a cloned voice removes the mental barrier to skepticism. Basically, when you hear someone you love sounding like they're in trouble, your brain just stops being rational.
And this isn't a theory, it's happening, for real. Just imagine getting that call, a scammer using an AI-cloned voice of your kid, your parent, anyone, saying they're in trouble. One person in Florida went through that nightmare and lost $15,000. The emotional damage there is just as real as the financial hit. So you see how this is devastating for one person? Now imagine that scaling up, and up, and up. That's when it becomes a full-blown threat to all of society, chipping away at the very foundations of trust and democracy. This leads to a really dangerous idea called the liar's dividend. The concept is simple, but it's powerful. Because deepfakes exist, liars get a new, easy out. When they're caught red-handed with real video or audio evidence, they can just shrug and say, nope, that's a deepfake. It makes us doubt everything, and that erodes our trust in all media. And when you can't trust what you see or hear, democracy itself starts to crumble. I mean, think about it. Research from PubMed Central lays it all out. Deepfakes mess with democracy by making it harder for citizens to participate. They stop us from being able to agree on things, and they just poison the well of public debate. It makes us respect each other less, and ultimately, it makes the decisions we make together feel less legitimate. And this isn't some academic exercise. It gets very real very fast, especially around election time. Research from Georgia Tech shows a clear pattern. When an election is coming up, the use of deepfakes just explodes. It becomes this massive tool for misinformation, designed to manipulate voters on a huge scale.
Okay, so that's all pretty heavy. But here's the good news. People are fighting back. Which brings us to our final section, the fight for reality. And it's a battle being fought on 3 different fronts. And this isn't a simple one-solution problem. The fight is happening on 3 main fronts at once. We've got new technology to spot the fakes, new laws to punish the people who make them, and a big push for public literacy to make all of us harder to fool.
On the technology side, some of the solutions are, well, they're pretty mind-blowing. Take Intel's fake catcher tech. It can spot a deepfake in real time. But here's the cool part. Instead of looking for flaws in the fake, it looks for signs of life in the real. It actually analyzes the blood flow in the pixels of a video. You know, the tiny color changes on a person's face as their heart pumps. It's wild, and it's 96% accurate. It's literally AI fighting AI.
And it's not just Intel either. You've got a whole tech arms race going on. Big names like Microsoft and Google are working on video authenticators and digital watermarks. You've got groups like the C2PA trying to create what's basically a birth certificate for digital media. And then there are companies like Logically.ai building even smarter fact-checking tools.
All right, so that's the tech. What about the law? Well, lawmakers are trying to catch up. Across the US, you're seeing different states try different things. California, for example, has laws about using digital replicas of people who've passed away. New Mexico and Oregon are saying you have to put a disclaimer on AI used in political ads. And then you've got states like New Jersey and Ohio that are trying to create actual criminal charges for making malicious deepfakes.
And that brings us to the third, and maybe the most important front. Us, you and me, public literacy. The American Bar Association has some really practical steps we can all take. First, have a plan with your loved ones, like a secret code word. Second, if you get one of those scary calls, take a breath. Resist the pressure to act right away. Third, talk about this stuff, raise awareness. And fourth, just be careful about where you post recordings of your voice online.
So all of this, it leaves us with a really big, kind of scary question. As this tech gets better and better and the fakes become basically perfect, our old way of thinking, seeing is believing, is officially broken. So in a world of perfect fakes, what do we choose to believe?